Great. Technology seems to be under control. Thank you, Mohan, for that. I'm going to pick up on some of the messages that Mohan has made in terms of innovation and disruption, very much from a corporate perspective. So my name is Jim Morrish. I'm founder and Chief Research Officer of Machine Research. I have the last presentation for this session, and I'm going to go through it really quite quickly because we've got 4 minutes of what was scheduled left, so I have some time to make up. So I'm going to rattle through this quite quickly. I want to talk about going from here, where we are today, to an IoT world, particularly from an enterprise perspective. A little bit about the company. I'm founder and chief research officer of Machine Research Limited. We're a firm of industry analysts and consultants. We've got 11 analysts focusing on just machine-to-machine and IoT, some based in Europe, some in Asia, some in the US. 11's not many compared to 14,000 or 5,000 as we had earlier, or even IBM, which I think is about 400,000. But in the world of industry analysts, we're quite large. So what I wanted to do really is talk about what the IoT is doing to the business of companies. Products are becoming smarter products. We're embedding and enhancing those products with processing power, greater data processing capabilities, bidirectional communications. Isolated products are becoming connected products, and that's supported by the pervasive coverage and greater bandwidth available and multiple technologies, especially including the new low-power wide area technologies coming along. What we've got is a change in operational technology, and really that's about operational technology and information technology convergence. Previously, these have been really very separate fields within the enterprise, with an operational technology working sort of a Six Sigma failure rate versus IT, which is more towards the best efforts. They really come from very different camps, and the applications of data are becoming far more converged. We have a lot of business model change as well. So service innovation, servitization is a word which we keep hearing emerging. And really what we're doing is products are designed and integrated with new services. And that means new business models. And the thing about new business models is that drives competitive advantage. And there's an interesting corollary to competitive advantage because there's kind of a compulsion as well. It's not just about one company developing new products and services in order to differentiate versus competitors. It's a competitive world. The competitors have got to neutralize that competitive advantage to actually to remain competitive and viable in the marketplace. So what you've got here is you've got an interesting there's an interesting carrot and stick. There's IoT as an opportunity to differentiate, but then there's a compulsion for all competitors in an industry to adopt IoT solutions. I just give the example of something like a connected usage-based insurance, automotive insurance product. At the moment, that's a reasonably new proposition. It's a competitive differentiator. Spin forward 10 or 15 years, it's almost inconceivable that there will be an automotive insurance company that doesn't have a usage-based product. All will be compelled to adopt some level of this connected product. And that's one of the dynamics which is underlying the IoT, is the compulsion to adopt and leverage this new wave of technology. Just focusing on some of the specifics, opportunities that are opened. Predictive maintenance. This is something that's been picked up earlier. I mean, this is this is the potential. I mean, this is a big opportunity, and it's the potential to preemptively maintain, for instance, an engine in a BMW. If a particular vibration profile is heralding that engine about to go wrong, you can preemptively call the car into the garage to fix it before it actually breaks down. Far more significant is applying the same kind of theories and practices in the world of healthcare. So if somebody has a heart condition and is monitored, it is far better and far more economic to call that person in to see the doctor to avoid a coronary event, rather than have the coronary event happen when the patient is out is at home, and then have to send an ambulance and ship the person into an A&E department, etc. It's also far better for the patient, of course, to avoid the event rather than be treated after it. Ongoing customer relations is a new concept. or it's a new concept which is being applied to sales of what were previously just standard goods, just standard hardware. There's an opportunity to build an ongoing customer relationship, and that means upselling, cross-selling, etc. It's quite a different relationship being built with clients. Business models, there are of course new business models. We've seen car sharing schemes, Zipcar, City Car Club, etc. These are just enabled by connectivity. Very hard to do these without connectivity in the IoT. And of course, data sharing is something new coming along, and we're beginning to see data sharing exchanges in a number of cities. Just putting, making information available to application developers and enabling those application developers to develop the applications that they see fit, and it's about exposing the data to a creative universe of people who make mashups with that, and some of those mashups will take on and be good ideas, and some won't. But it's a completely different way of developing applications within a smart city. What will the IoT require in terms of enterprises adapting to this new business environment? Well, scalability is key. I'm going to take a couple of examples here, and I'm going to compare a smart metering deployment with a virtual power plant. And a virtual power plant could be something which optimizes power consumption within a region or within a city. And the virtual power plant is an IoT concept, and smart metering deployment is an M2M concept. And really, the scalability of that virtual power plant is far more extreme because of the diversity and heterogeneity of assets which are pulled into it, and the optimization that's going on. Whereas the smart metering deployment is very much something that can be planned on day one. You know exactly how big the estate is that needs to be covered with these M2M connections, and it's a far more known concept, and far less variables in terms of size, in terms of what the devices might need to do, in terms of the communications of those devices, the applications they might be stitched into. And what you've got here is a fundamental difference in terms of the scalability of the solutions, the agility that's required of the solutions in terms of supporting applications that were unforeseen at the time of deployment of the solution, flexibility and uncertainty, and these things all feed together. And really underline the fact that agility is core to enterprise, to any deployment of enterprise IoT. Significant drivers and barriers of enterprise IoT. Basically, it's driven by success with previous deployments of M2M. The range and opportunities and benefits, the ease to deploy solutions, innovation in terms of what can be deployed, and data analytics tools. These things really drive the deployments. There are some barriers, basically around change management. Really, it's about changing processes within a corporation and challenging traditional best practices. The issues around data ownership and of course vested interests. I mean, you look at the implementation of supply chain monitoring from a supply chain which stretches from China to Europe. If you manage that chain efficiently with an M2M or an IoT collected solution, estimates suggest you can take about 50% of goods out of that supply chain that are sitting in the supply chain, and that's just then there's clear consequences in terms of improvements in working capital, but there's also clear consequences in terms of the goods that are shipped from the manufacturer at the beginning of that supply chain. So the clear vested interests always come into play when there's potential to increase the efficiency of solutions. In terms of sourcing ideas within the enterprise, or ideas can come from all sorts of places: brainstorming, benchmarking, classic BPM, BPR, enhancements of ongoing projects, workshopping, corporate strategic plans, huge range of internal sources, also external sources, interviews with external experts, consultants, dare I say it, industry analysts, customer interviews, RFIs that are received, and of course mystery shopping. Just circling back, in terms of the pull effects that are happening in the market and forcing companies to deploy IoT solutions. So there's many places that these ideas can come from for a corporation, and Yes. So, and of course, they need to be prioritized and analyzed in a way, in a way that's consistent with the corporate strategy. I mean, a company, I've just put together a sample caveat diagram for a company that might want to assess opportunities on the basis of market opportunity, the revenue potential, strategic fit, and time to market. And what they've put in place is kind of a framework for managing or for assessing these items, these IoT projects. And of course, behind each one of the elements of those frameworks are many different dimensions and considerations. Really, the thing that there are a couple of key messages that I want to leave, though, and this is one of them, which is the fact that IoT within an enterprise environment is a continual process of innovation and assessment. So there will be a process of opportunity identification, selection, prioritization, and then a ranking, and then putting together an IoT application roadmap. The thing is, as that roadmap is implemented, and as you go out and as you deploy these enterprise IoT solutions, the world it's a sufficiently early stage market that there are always surprises, there are always new information, there's always refinements on those ideas as they're implemented, and it's necessary to refine the ideas and put them back into the hopper of ideas. And there's this continual ongoing refinement and re-optimization of a roadmap, just as the enterprise IoT developments develops, and as IoT, the environment as a whole develops. So, constant process of innovation and assessment, and it should become a kind of an ongoing function of a company. The other key message that I want to leave behind is that I think I've stressed a few times that it's enterprise that drives the adoption of IoT, mainly through a competitive dynamic, and that's either to lead the market or by compulsion to keep up with the market. But I just want to make the point that actually it's consumers that are going to reap much of the benefit. So greater efficiency means better goods and services at lower prices. There are new products and services. Usage-based automotive insurance is a better dimensioned, better suited product, which is better dimensioned for the people who consume it. Smart metering supporting new energy tariffs, virtual power plants I've mentioned, the whole concept of servitization, and better use of existing resources, especially skilled manpower in fast developing markets, which is very much an Indian dynamic. So there's there's this huge competitive dynamic which is forcing the adoption or stimulating the adoption of IoT, but actually much the dividend comes out in terms of consumer consumption and better dimensioned products and more efficient use of our resources. And those are the messages that I wanted to go through. And I ran through that very quickly to try and keep vaguely on time. Are there any questions to follow up on any of that from anyone? I can't see any. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. We're